So I would like to know your feeling about the auction last week at Sotheby's.
Well, I'll discuss the Impressionist and modern side of things, which is more my specialty. And sincerely, I thought they did an amazing job. Amazing job. I mean, these sale results are super helpful for the visibility of the market, taking into mind and keeping in mind that there's no fairs, there's very little visibility, we can't travel, we can't have our usual meetings in New York in November. So with all the travel restriction and everything that's going on, I thought they did an amazing job. They were, I think, pretty lucky.
But let's be more concrete. What about what the prices mean?
Well, the prices mean the following. The estimates are still pretty high. Things are still substantiated by guarantees that they managed to upload to third-party guarantees with the exception of 2 lots. So there was still about, I think, almost 40% of the sale that was guaranteed. My feeling is that the nucleus of the sale, which are the top works, i.e. essentially the Chirico, the metaphysical De Chirico, I think that continues to do well because they're unique opportunities and they're extremely rare. But that doesn't make a market because that's just the protagonist of the sale. There's always 1 or 2, and the rest sold. That's what I want to say. It sold. I can't say that.
So it's a miracle in this context.
I beg your pardon?
Is it a miracle in this context?
Yes, almost. Honestly, almost. Almost. I mean, you have to keep in mind that contrary to the contemporary field, perhaps, the Impressionist and modern fields, people need to see the paintings. And people come from a culture and a collecting habit, if you wish, that, either they see the piece themselves or they send a trusted advisor to go and see them in their place, who know their taste and who know what they react to. I think the possibility, I think the transformation of online has been very well done. Although the catalog came only a week before the sale, which I thought was difficult for clients, because if they want to send somebody to look at the picture, they have to find a friend who's still in New York, who's still in London, who's still there, who can look at the work. So the timing constraint was pretty tight. And I think, they sold, $142 million, selling most of the works to 1 or 2 bids only. Which is very, very, very thin.
But don't you think the Rothko was a victim of the fact that almost no one could see the painting because it was unsold?
Yes, probably. And yeah, Rothko, exactly. Rothko is probably just like our Impressionist friends. They're works that if you don't see them, you don't see the nuances of the tonalities and the hues and how they combine each other. So I think that probably was one of the rare victims because overall it did well.
And what about what do you think about the big Giacometti and the new system coming from nowhere of seal price or
Yeah, I think that was interesting because that shows the amazing creativity of the auction houses at this moment that they do everything to put out information out there to the public, and I think that's very important. You're talking about the Grande Femme Debout.
Oui, but we don't know the price.
No, we don't know the price.
It's a
we
French
don't know exactly
technique,
who
no?
bought it. It's more of a private sale that's been promoted officially, publicly. And I think, although we don't know if it's sold for 90, we don't know if it's sold for 70, we don't know if it's sold for 100, I think the fact that Sotheby's was able to show the market that transaction can happen at this price level, even under a very convoluted system that's well known in the real estate business, for example, when you have sealed bids and
really?
In other fields,
you
like
know it from the real estate system. They do it
from the real estate system, and also sealed bids for the rights, for TV rights, for example. When different TV channels, like Dry's TV channels, when he's bidding for soccer rights or for sports rights, they have to send a sealed-in envelope and compare and contrast.
Okay.
It's a bit of a private sale. With
a lot of publicity.
Yes, with a lot of publicity, which again, Judith, I know it sounds, there's nothing public about all this. We call them public auction, but there's nothing public. But it's an amazing feat to be able to put up so many sales, to be able to obtain results, decent results, considering the circumstances. And I think it sends out the message to the wider public that the market is alive. I was going to say alive and well. I'll just say alive. And it's actually doing fairly well, considering the material that's coming up to the market. And I think Perlman, in a way, the market had the chance that Perlman needed to sell this season, because that brought in a lot of high-ticketed items to the market, and also that museums are selling.
But
really
there were a lot of withdrawal just before the auction from the Baltimore Museum, right?
Yes, because that comes with a huge controversy, because when you sell something to purchase other artists, it's basically accepted by the wider public, but when you're only selling to sustain the museum's livelihood and open door policy, then it becomes a problem, because then you might have to sell again in 6 months or to a year.
Yeah.
So,
but I've been told that it was not Perlman selling, it was Perlman bankers. What do you think?
I don't know.
And so you are quite optimistic. You think all that is a good sign?
I think our recommendations to our client is still, if you don't need to transact right now, wait for better times.
Really?
That's my message. If you don't need to, but if the timing is right for you and this is the time for you to sell, the market exists. The market exists. Privately, it may take a bit longer. Because of the physical restrictions and because of the international nature of our business, which takes longer, and that's what we're doing at the moment. For the fall season, in France, as you know, there's a lot of steps to be taken before you can sell something privately. You need expertise, you need the passport, you need to look at the tax issue of capital gains tax. You need to do all these things. You need to get an art loss register certificate. So this is the perfect time to prepare the work. To be sold hopefully next year. But we have been transacting, and it's trickling, it's happening, and it just, it takes a bit longer. And again, it's not our main recommendation. Our main recommendation remains hold on to everything, until better times. And that's what I would recommend.
Do you think that now most of the people who need to sell prefer to sell privately than at auction, even with auction houses?
It's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I think it's still in the balance of both. I think some people are tempted by the auction houses. It depends on the price level that they're expecting, just because they feel that buyers are still around and there's a lack of material. So their work actually offered during the pandemic might help, might find a buyer, and his or her work might not be in comparison with other works within the frame of a bigger official sale. So I think it really depends on what you have. We saw smaller works like the Picasso oil that made over $2 million, was estimated 1 to 1.5. If you're willing and able to present to the market something that's fresh and that's very reasonably estimated, it's going to do really well. If, on the contrary, you think that your price was a bit tight in 2019, then, of course, in 2020, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So you should try privately. But privately, if you're not willing to accept a negotiation of 10 to 20%, then you shouldn't sell privately. I'm not saying now that everything has dropped by 10 or 20%. But basically, you need to show some flexibility to be able to sell at this moment.
This is a message for my readers who are your client. Be ready.
Watch out. No, but if, on the other hand, if you can afford to wait, it out and find a healthier market where people can visualize the works of art, of course it's better. It's deserving for me. We prefer to tell everyone sell. But at a time like this, especially with Impressionist and Post-Impressionist works, which there have been very few on the market, so it's hard to read really what the demand is. And the demand came mostly from Asia recently in the past few years. I think it's a difficult proposition to do, and it's better to wait. But if you do need to transact, it depends what it is. If it's a very specific work for a very, very targeted audience, then we can still target them today with the traveling restrictions and everything. If it's something more for the general public, then go at auction and give it a go, but be really reasonable in the estimates, because otherwise it's just not going to make it. I mean, I think Sotheby sale did well, but I think more than almost 60% of the works sold below the low estimate. So it was touch and go, but they're still dealing with inflated estimates that they still need to lower to recreate an appetite, especially in our field, which is slightly getting tired, the Impressionist and Post-Impressionist field, unless, of course, you're dealing with a major work. So,
okay,
I'm still amazed about how, Christie's and Sotheby's were able to reinvent themselves online and be that successful with essentially presentations of the works and full cataloging that only become available within a week before the sale. And the fact that they're still finding buyers for these pieces, even if they're few, and a lot fewer than last year, but they're still finding buyers, it's very encouraging for the market, and it's just telling us, don't worry, be happy, hold it out, it will come back, and seize the opportunities that you can seize now, because there are some.